That's all right. You can play under me. Okay, what we're going to discuss today is usage and common usage errors. Now, I start with this slide on the 80-20 principle, sometimes the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 law. Roughly what this states is that 80% of your outcomes come from 20% of your input. Okay, let me make that make a lot more sense. If you have a large enough business, right, think about where you work, 20% of the workers do 80% of the work. If you're in sales, 20% of your sales, or 20% of your customers make up 80% of your sales. If you have a tool chest at home, toolbox, you use 20% of the tools for 80% of what you use tools for. Okay, on your computer, same thing with the drop-down menus and the keys and the different commands. Now the key is that it be a large enough system. Okay, if there's only 4 things, it's not gonna work. Or 10 things, you need a large enough system. But generally, it's a pretty good rule. And what I have discovered from teaching grammar all of these years, I start the first day of teaching grammar in my on-campus class by asking them to define gerund. And in close to 20 years of teaching, I've had one student who got pretty close. The point is, you don't really necessarily need to know what a gerund means. You just need to know how to use it, right? And we know that a gerund is a verb ending in ing used as a noun. Skiing is fun. It's a gerund. Okay, that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about are usage errors that we make. That's when we use, words are spelled differently and we use the wrong one, or we use words that aren't real words, or we use words incorrectly, or commonly confused words, and those sorts of things. And so what I'm going to do is take you through, following that 80-20 theory or rule, I'm going to take you through the 20% I see the most, and what that will mean. I mean, we could talk about the difference between cash and cachet, right? When is anybody going to do that? So what I try to do is approach it as, if I can teach the 20%, we can fix 80% of it, which is a lot better time spent. So let's get into the most common usage errors. A and an. With these articles, when to use them. The key is it being the sound, not the letter that comes after them, okay? The other key is in the United States, we tend to pronounce the H, where in England they wouldn't. So in British, you would say an historic event, or he has a huge head, right? Well, that's debatable. But in America, we pronounce that H, and so it is a historic event, okay? Now notice, in this example, I've used NBA, because even though it starts with the letter N, it has a vowel sound. It was a historic event when Earl Lloyd played in an NBA game. Okay, Earl Lloyd being the first African-American to play in an actual game. There's some the history's kind of muted because there was some under a contract, but he was the first to actually play in a game. So again, A and. Effect with an A and effect with an E. Think of it this way: A is the verb, E is the noun, 99.9% of the time. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that there's a psychological term generally pronounced affect, right, with an A, that's a noun. If you're putting on acting, the exact definition would be appearance or outward display of emotion. That's an affect, okay? That's with an A, and that's a noun, but we don't generally use that. Effect with an E, effect with an E, like I said, is the noun. My mom had a huge effect on my life, right? But if we use it to mean to bring about, generally in an extreme way, it can be a verb. President Obama affected important change while in office, okay? That is a verb there, but like I said, 99.9% of the time, just think A, verb, E, noun, okay? Already 2 words versus 1. Okay, the 2-word version means, of course, everyone was ready. We were fully prepared. We were all ready to go to the football game. 2 words. Already means previously, 1 word. Okay, that already happened. Okay, All right, one word versus two. Okay, here's the thing. One word, which we see all the time, is non-standard English. That is a fancy way of saying it's not really a word, okay? Sort of like ain't. If you look up ain't in the dictionary, it will be in there, but we'll say non-standard English. All right, one word fits into that category, okay? So it's not something that we would use in formal writing, okay? All together, two words versus one. The two word all together means all gathered in one place, right? We were all together, two words, for our family reunion. All together, one word means thoroughly or entirely, okay? I don't think that's altogether a great idea, okay? That would be one word. A lot, okay, is non-standard English, and it's also terrible to use as one word or two, okay? Try to avoid it. You can be much more specific, okay? There is a word, a lot, A-L-L-O-T, which is an actual word. It's a verb meaning to allocate, like, or it can be a noun, like you are given a certain allotment, right? As a verb, I'm going to allot you $300 this month in alimony, okay? That is the verb with the two L's, okay? That generally, I've never seen a student write that in a paper, but I feel you need to know the difference. Among and between, okay? You're among three or more things. You're between two things, okay? So if there are two, you are between them. If three or more, you are among them, okay? Amount and number. This is going to come up more, it's going to be a little more important later that we understand this concept. But amount is when we're referring to quantities that cannot be counted, okay? You know, the amount of work I did today was ridiculous, okay? Because I can't count that. If I could count it, I would use number, okay? The number of students in my online classes this semester is fewer than last semester, okay? I wouldn't say the amount of students because I can count students, okay? The number of people held by the Astrodome. I can count how many people the Astrodome holds, so I wouldn't say amount, I would say number, okay? Beside and besides, okay? Without the S, beside means by the side of or next to. Okay, so I'm going to stand beside Cindy. Besides with an S means other than or in addition to. Okay, so everyone besides Brian was invited to the party because, you know, he always embarrasses himself and has 6 toes. Okay, so again, beside means next to, besides means, you know, with the exception of everyone besides Brian. Okay? Can, may, or might. Now, can and may is where we're really going to focus here, and we've all heard this sentence that I'm about to use. When I was in the 3rd grade, I almost wet my pants because I said to Miss Cates, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And she said, "I don't know, can you?" And I was like, "Can I please go to the bathroom?" "No, I don't know, can you?" And I didn't know what she was getting at. So finally I kind of run out of the room crying because I'm afraid I'm going to wet my pants, go to the bathroom. I made it on time. And when I come back, I'm still in tears because I assume I'm going to get in trouble because I hadn't received permission to go to the bathroom. And, you know, she kindly explained to me, then she figured it out that maybe she should have taught it. But may means, you know, have permission. Can is have the ability to, right? May is our way of asking for permission. It also means uncertainty. Okay, I may go to the party, or I might go to the party. And there actually, believe it or not, some grammarians and linguists will argue there is a difference between those two in extreme. Okay, if you say you may do something, you're actually more likely to do it than if you said you might do something. Okay, if you said we're going to go out for drinks tonight, are you going to be out? I would say I may. Okay, there's a better chance of that than if you were to say, "Are you coming to my pool party?" I would say I might, because there is not as good a chance of that happening. Okay, canceled and traveled. Unless you are British, we spell them with one L in the United States. I see this constantly. It drives me nuts. When I miss class on campus and I'm sick, very often I come back to a sign that says, someone put up that said class is canceled for today with 2 L's in it, okay? That is the British spelling. In the United States, we spell them with 1 L, okay? Capital. We could go into a lot of really complicated discussions here on capital gains taxes and capital letters. Here's the point. Unless it is the building the lawmakers meet in, it's spelled with an A. Okay, the capital city is with an A, capital gains taxes, capital letter, capital punishment, all of those are AL. The only one that has the O is the actual building itself. Okay, complement with an E versus an I. With an E means to work well together, like complementary colors. Okay, with an I means to give praise. So again, compliment with an E works well together with an I to give praise. Okay, I'm going to compliment, how nice you look. Continual versus continuous. Okay, this one I hear wrong all the time. Okay, but I would still say continually, not continuously. What continual means is recurring or occurring repeatedly. Okay, but that doesn't mean going on constantly. Okay, that's continuous. Continuous means uninterrupted in space, time, or sequence. Okay, so I always use this example in class. I have Hulu, but I don't pay for. I think you can pay for a version without commercials. Okay, I'm annoyed by the continual commercial interruptions. Okay, they're not continuous. It's not one big commercial. It's just they're happen more than I like. It's continual. QVC and the Home Shopping Network are continuous commercials, right? They're one big unending commercial selling products, okay? Could have, should have, would have. It's not could of, should of, would of, okay? If I would have thought of that sooner, okay, no, if I would have thought of that sooner, or you should have brought more money. No, you should have brought more money. Again, it's the way we pronounce it that makes, when we write it, confusing here. Okay, elicit, E-L-I-C-I-T, means to draw forth or to bring out, right? Like in a class, I'm going to elicit responses from my students. Illicit with an I and 2 L's means unlawful or not permitted, okay? The trunk of my car is full of illicit narcotics, okay? It's not really, but you get the point. Okay, etc. is Latin, okay? And if you find an old book, you may actually find the ampersand, which is that and symbol, right? And a C with a period instead of the word etc., which would mean, back then, that means and cetera, okay? Etc. is Latin. It's spelled E-T space C-E-T-E-R-A, okay? The ETC period is our abbreviation. It means, okay, et in Latin means and, cetera roughly means the rest, okay? In this class I'll say and a bunch of other crap, okay? So, when you say etc., the and is part of the meaning of that word, okay? So it is redundant and should never be, you should never say and etc., okay? It should just be, I had bacon, eggs, ham, etc., not bacon, eggs, ham, and etc., because you're saying and the rest, okay? That should make sense. We do a lot of that in our language. People say ATM machine. ATM stands for automated teller machine. So when you say ATM machine, you're saying ATM machine, or automated teller machine. In the South, we say hot water heater. Again, it's just a water heater. It heats water, okay? A hot water heater implies that the water would be hot before it heated it, correct? Okay, here is a big one, farther and further, okay? I had to stop watching a certain weather guy years ago because he used this erroneously every time. And I was actually at the gym one day, and he was in the water fountain in front of me, and I didn't know. You know how it is when you see a local celebrity in public, right? You don't really care, but you're like, oh, hey, that's that. And so I'm kind of sitting there trying to process, do I know this guy? Because I always look way different in public. And he turns around from the water fountain, and I'm kind of giving him a weird look, and he actually said to me, and this is, trust me, you've never heard of this guy. It was just he's gone now. But he said, I'm sorry I don't give autographs at the gym. Like I was asking for an autograph from, the Fox weather guy. But anyway, and I was like, no, I was wondering and if you were the one who doesn't know the difference between farther and further. And so I was willing to give him a free grammar lesson at the gym. You'd think he would have taken me up on the offer. But he was just like, oh, I'll never remember it anyway. And I said, well, just use farther, okay? Farther is distance, okay? So when he would say a cold front is going to move farther to the south, okay? If you can measure it in distance, it is farther. Further is when we're talking about abstract things, right? Like, let's discuss this further, okay? I don't want to talk about this any further. That's when we would use further. If I can measure it, it's farther, okay? Fewer and less, okay? Think about this like, I see this error all the time in public, and I carry around a Sharpie and fix things in real life. And the most common one, which somehow I neglected to put in this slideshow, is every day, one word versus two. Remember, it's only one word if it's an adjective. These are my everyday pants. Okay, usually it's two words. I eat breakfast every day. That's two words. Okay, you see that all the time at, fast food chains. Now serving breakfast every day, two words. One word. No, it should be two words. Okay, everyday low prices, that's an adjective. That would be one word. Also, while we're on the subject of fast food restaurants, even though they spell drive-through THRU, that's not a word. All right, back to fewer and less. Fewer is if we could count it. Less is if we can't. Okay, so I put less sugar in my coffee this morning. Okay, that's sort of an abstract term that I'm using specific units, right? But I had fewer teaspoons of sugar. I could count teaspoons, so I would use fewer. So if you're asking, yes, the sign at Walmart and all the grocery stores, except for a few decent grocery stores, are wrong. They should read 20 items or fewer. Okay, or 10 items, whatever, you get the point. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, no, okay? If you're going to delineate the start of a paragraph with a number, just say first, okay, comma, second, comma. And again, don't try to get out of that habit. I used to do a how-to paper, and I had a student who wrote his, and he started every paragraph, and they were really short paragraphs with each instruction, and I think it ended with like 36thly he'd written, okay? No, just don't do it. First, second, third, and again, avoid that. Hanged and hung, believe it or not, okay? The common saying that we use is paintings are hung, people are hanged. If it's usually hung as the past tense of hang, unless it is an execution. Okay, then that person is hanged. Saddam Hussein was hanged after he was caught and convicted. Okay, that's hanged. You have to be careful if you refer to a person as hung. It means something else. Okay, so if they're executed, it's hanged. Herself, himself, itself, myself, ourself, yourself, yourselves. Okay, or ourselves. People do this to try to sound smart. Okay, he handed the book to myself. And you end up being stupid there, okay? It's reflexive. Only you can do things to yourself. Only she can do things to herself. Only he can do things to himself. And by the way, his self is not a word. Only it can do things to itself. So I wouldn't say Billy looked at myself, okay? That doesn't make sense. But I could say I looked in the mirror at myself, okay? You fix the car all by yourself, okay? So again, only you, only he, only she, only I can do things to myself, to yourself, to herself, okay? Historic and historical. This is a tough one for a lot of people. If it is of meaning to history, it's historic. If it's just old, it's historical. So think about the AL, add an extra L there, even though there's not one, just being all. Everything in the past is historical, but that doesn't mean it's of significance to history. Okay, I had a home in Hillcrest that was more than 100 years old, so it was considered sorry, I screwed up my own rule I just told you. A historical home. Okay, why was it historical? Because it was old. Why was it not a historic home? Because nothing important ever happened there. Okay, if the Magna Carta had been signed in my living room, it would have been a historic home, but it wasn't. Okay, imply and infer. I'm going to go ahead and give you the meanings here. I hear this one wrong all the time, and again, it's generally by people trying to sound smart, and they don't. Imply means to express indirectly or to suggest. So I'm going to imply something, okay? Infer meanings to conclude or surmise. So basically, someone implies something, and from that, you infer. Okay, so they suggest it indirectly or express it indirectly, right? That's imply. And then you infer, you conclude what they're trying to say. Okay, so I hear people all the time who will say, I think what you're inferring is that I should do this. No, that's not what I'm inferring. It's what I'm implying. Okay. Is when and is where, unless it relates to time or a place, don't say that. I had a student write, anorexia is where people starve themselves because they think they're fat, okay? Is anorexia a place? No, so don't say it is where, okay? Or anorexia is when someone, is anorexia a time? No, okay? So only use is where and is when related to times. This is one of my favorites. Loose, lose, okay? Loose with 2 O's, lose. Every semester I get a sentence that looks like this. My boyfriend's ex is a complete loser, okay? And I have to ask them, is she, or maybe you're the loser, right? It's loser, okay? Don't be a loser. Get these correct, okay? May be 2 words versus maybe 1 word. Okay, may be 2 words is a verb phrase. Charles may be interested in dressing up as Santa this year, okay? Maybe 1 word is an adverb that means possibly. Maybe I'll do it, okay? Maybe not. That's 1 word. Principal, P-A-L versus P-L-E at the end. You overlearn this in school. We all learned our principal is our pal, okay? That was what we were taught by our teacher, so we knew the principal of the school was spelled P-A-L, and that is correct. The problem was we assumed everything else was spelled P-L-E, and that's not the case. A better way to think of it is think of P-A-L as meaning main, okay? So the principal is the main guy at your school, okay? So again, the main one, okay? Principle, P-L-E, means a rule or action or conduct or a basic law, right? I live by a certain set of principles, okay? So generally, when we say principle, we generally mean main, okay? This is a thing you hear in the South a whole lot, okay? Real, R-E-A-L, means true or actual, okay? She is wearing a real diamond, okay? I don't think that's her real hair color. The adverb is really, and what we tend to do is use real when we mean really. People will say things like, she's real stupid, okay? Is she? Okay, no, she's really stupid, okay? And she's just kind of smart. Okay, shall and will. Okay, now, in the past, in archaic forms, we would use, in first person, we would use shall. Okay, so I would say, I shall come over to your house later. Or we shall, do this. But we in other tenses, we would say will, like he will come over to my house earlier. In other forms, not tenses. Anyway, the point is, now generally shall is used, in polite questions, or serious sort of search situations. Shall I come to your house? Or they shall overcome. But will is correct in all situations now. Okay, so that's one of those things. The language changes. Stationary with an A, A-R-Y versus E-R-Y. Just think of the E-R-Y as the paper you write on. Okay, stationary bike and everything else is A-R-Y. Okay, supposed to and used to. Okay, ED. When in paper, students will write in their narrative essays, when I was a kid, I used to love Capri Sun. Okay, I was supposed to be home by midnight. No, it's past tense. Supposed to, used to. Okay, so get used to it. Okay, than and then. Than, of course, is a comparison word. She is taller than he is, right? Then is indicates time, right? We're gonna go see a movie, then we're gonna go out to eat. Okay, so that's then. So than is comparison. Then is a relation of time. That and which. Okay. First off, let's get this out of the way. Use who or whom with people. Okay? Don't say the man that lives down the street. Okay? It's the man who lives down the street. Okay? The second thing, though, is we use that when it is essential and we don't separate it out with commas. Okay? We use which when it's not essential and we do separate it out with commas. So I would say it's essential that we know what dog was put to sleep. So I would say the dog that bit my sister was put to sleep. I would use that, no commas. It's essential. But my dogs, which are pugs, are asleep right now. Now notice, it's not necessary that you know that they're pugs there. That's non-essential information. So I would write my dogs, comma, which are pugs, comma, are asleep right now. Unique. Unique is what we call an absolute adjective, which means they're not varying forms. It means one of a kind. So something can't be very unique, can't be so unique, can't be kind of unique. I had a student several years ago who was going to be my newspaper editor when I taught high school for a few years, and I interviewed them to be yearbook editor, not newspaper, and students had come up to me and said that, they knew she was the most likely choice, and they kept saying she's pregnant, she's going to be out, which, you can't really have a yearbook editor out for 6 weeks or however long to have a baby in the middle of a deadline, right? But at the same time, believe it or not, pregnancy is covered just like it would be in the workplace, and so I couldn't not make her my yearbook editor because she was pregnant. So I needed to know for sure, because if she was pregnant, I was going to assign another, do co-editors, right? So somebody could fill in for her while she was gone. And so, I've said to her during the interview, "Are you pregnant?" And, I said, "I'm not." And, unless it's an adult or somebody molested you, right? Because I'm a mandatory reporter, I don't have to tell anybody that you're pregnant, okay? Assuming it was consensual and legal. And she, started crying and said, I said, "Come on, are you pregnant or not?" And she said, "Kinda." So I always think of her being kind of pregnant, right? How can you be kind of pregnant? You're pregnant or you're not. Is unique. Something cannot be very unique, so unique, but, a little unique, okay? It's unique or it's not, okay? Finally, thank God, were and where. And why, just why. I don't know why y'all confuse these. Were, where. Were is the past tense of the be verb. Where is, a location word. Why, just why, I don't know why. Just, proof, and hopefully you'll catch that. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, give me a call. Until next time.